Welcome to a sparkling new podcast from Mike Parry and Mike Graham. We're the two Mikes.
Actually, it sounds even better when you do it Dullsville, because when you try to be happy and excited and energetic, you sound pathetic.
Thanks.
On digital radio and 1089 and 1053 AM.
The two Mikes on Talk Sport.
Good morning, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry, you're listening to the two Mikes. We're in for Colin Murray all week, and it's going to be the hottest day of the year. Porky Parry's already looking flushed this morning. He's convinced it's the worst idea of all time for Thierry Henry to even think about managing Arsenal whenever he feels like it. And he doesn't think Rio Ferdinand's got any business wanting the England job either. Just what is he on? Also coming up on the show, we're going over to Sweden to find out how the celebrations are going after Henrik Stenson won the Open. And we got the final winners and losers as well, which should prove interesting after Porky tipped Phil Mickelson to win it yesterday. You're listening to the two Mikes with me, Mike Graham, and Mike Parry on Talk Sport. This is Talk Sport. We are the two Mikes, and it's time to say a very, very good morning on this very hot day to Mr. Mike, a Porky Parry. Very good morning to you, Mr. Parry.
And a very good morning to you, Mike. You're absolutely right. It's going to be the hottest day of the year. It's meltdown.
Why are you not wearing shorts? Everybody else in the office is wearing shorts.
Well,
I mean, I'm not, because I don't wear shorts to work.
I have a certain cachet about me, and I have a certain...
A certain what?
A certain cachet.
Cachet?
Yes.
Do you know what that means?
Yes. And I
don't think that's the right word.
It is, and I have a respect for the rules of engagement in the workplace.
Is that right?
I don't think me in shorts would be a very good...
You've worn shorts in here before.
Well, yeah, normally at night, actually. Normally when I'm doing later shows.
Yeah.
But I think during the day, I think you have to have respect for your fellow colleague.
I think you're
Anybody
right.
walking around in a pair of shorts, as far as I'm concerned, is disrespecting me, and I'm not going to disrespect
Certainly
anybody
we don't
else.
want to see those white legs at this time of the day.
Well, they are like milk bottles, I have to agree, because I don't go out in the sun quite a lot.
Now, there are some people out there who are absolutely astonished at the ability that you have developed over the course of years, but somehow you've managed to get it to a pinnacle now. The Porky Jinx is quite extraordinary.
Well,
yesterday,
there's no such thing as the Porky Jinx.
When we were here for the warm-up yesterday, I said to you, who do you think's going to win the Open?
Yeah.
You considered it for a second, and you went, definitely Phil Mickelson. He's got the calmness, he's got the ability, and he will see it through.
I say he's got the experience to stick it out.
And almost as soon as you said that, he teed off, and it was a fantastic duel. I think not so much in the sun, but of course he lost.
I think it's true to say that in the last 120 major tournaments, he would have won, wouldn't he, with the score that he posted, and particularly with his first round score.
Well, that's the point about the Jinx, because, I mean, in any normal circumstance, he would have won. I mean, he shot 63 the other day, shoots a 65, I think, yesterday, or 64.
Just imagine if he'd got that 62 the other day. Would have spurred him on, just enough to go.
Look, still wouldn't have won it, though,
there is no such thing as the Porky Jinx. The problem is
you jinxed France, you jinxed Germany in the Euros, you jinxed the Brexit vote.
Yeah, the thing is, Mike, if you put your head above the parapet, your head will occasionally get shot off.
Parapet.
But as you don't put your head above anything, and you sit on fences...
Not at all.
There are more splinters in your posterior than there is wood in Delamere Forest, OK?
Where's Delamere Forest?
It's in Cheshire. Okay. It's where I used to... it's where I learnt my countryside skills as a child.
In the Delamere Woods. That's not a story for a family show. However, you're incorrect to say that I don't put my head above the parapet, because I correctly predicted that Leicester would win the league. I also correctly predicted that Portugal would win the Euro.
That's nonsense.
You get stuffed as far as that's concerned.
No. What you do is when we get 98% along the road, you suddenly say, "Oh, I think Leicester are going to win it." When Leicester are about like 6 points clear, with 2 games to play.
As everybody knows, your relationship with the truth is temporary, to say the least. Now, what's all this rubbish about Thierry Henry been spouting this morning?
No, I haven't been spouting rubbish at all. Thierry Henry is a huge Arsenal hero.
He is.
I think he chipped a little bit of his legacy away when he went back for the second time and started playing again. You should never go back in those circumstances.
I think on principle, I think you're right, but I think his legendary status is such that actually I don't think he has damaged it in any way.
Well, I think he will damage it if he goes back as a manager until he's properly prepared. Now, in fairness, this is this is him talking over the weekend, okay? And in fairness, he says, I'd have to be ready to do it.
Yeah.
Thierry Henry has opened his heart on leaving Arsenal. His job with the under-18s may be gone because, of course, he's left the academy because Arsene Wenger said he didn't want him in dual roles as a football pundit and a member of his coaching staff, which everybody understands. The Gunners legend, who is 38, still has dreams of managing the club where he is record goal scorer with 228. Once he he has done his coaching badges. Now, I'm sorry, but all that does is raise the aspirations of the Arsenal fans who would love to see their hero come back, you know, in the style of maybe Pep Guardiola or Kenny Dalglish at Liverpool, and suddenly become one of the world's great managers. But it ain't going to happen. It's a completely different situation.
Well, I mean,
Pep Guardiola stayed on the coaching staff when he retired and worked his way up through the academies at Barcelona.
And he learned the inside-out systems that they worked. And also, it's a bit of a unique situation, Barcelona. I don't think that applies.
Of course, Kenny Dalglish was thrust in by national emergency, by events, into managing Liverpool and won the double in his first season as player manager.
And he was also still playing.
He's still playing,
that's a slightly different case as well.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, I just don't think you can lose the immediate contact with football, become a first-class pundit, you know, on a sports TV station, and then suddenly decide, I think I'll get my tracksuit back on now and go out there and be coach of Arsenal. You know, I know he says, and
it's also charming of him. It's charming of him to say he doesn't want to do it until he's ready. Well, I mean, as if that when he becomes ready, then he should be given the job. Yeah,
he says, being on the other side, I said I would like to manage, but I am far from it, OK? First and foremost, make sure you have everything, all the badges, then we will see. And that's absolutely right. But just to raise, you know, the ante to say I could be manager of Arsenal one of these days will lead to the tens of thousands, maybe hundreds of thousands of Arsenal fans who are devoted followers of Tirry Henry. I should call him Henry from now on.
Why don't you just call him Monsieur Henry? No, that might be easier for you.
I'll just call him Henry. Because they will start banging the drum now and saying this man's got to come in. I don't know why, but fans are still fooled into thinking that if you've had a great player in your squad who has done wonders for the club, he will become a great manager. It hardly ever works. Didn't work with Roy Keane, didn't work with Brian Robson, didn't work with Alan Shearer. It hardly ever works.
Have you mentioned Ryan Giggs yet?
Well, we don't know if it's going to work with Ryan Giggs.
Well, no, it hasn't worked with Ryan Giggs. Because Ryan Giggs stayed at Manchester United when he should have gone to get his sort of managerial boots from somewhere else.
Yes, but apart from a very short temporary spell, Ryan Giggs has not been the manager of Manchester United.
Well, that doesn't count, does it?
Well, it does a bit. I mean, Alan Shearer found out what management was all about in 6 games, didn't he? Failed to stop Newcastle from getting relegated 4 seasons ago, 5 seasons ago. And decided it wasn't for him,
My favourite moment of his tenure at Newcastle was when he was playing at Anfield and Liverpool fans were all singing, "You should have stayed on the telly."
I know. That's a bit harsh, isn't it?
Well, no, I thought it was very accurate. He should have stayed on the telly. Well, and maybe they'll be shouting that at Thierry Henry if he ever turns up as a manager of Arsenal.
Yeah, this often...
But would you like anybody else's opinion on this? Should we ask the audience if they'd like to call in?
I would love the audience to call in.
Would you mind if I give the phone number?
Well, please do. That would help enormously.
The number, of course, is 08717 22 3344. Porky Parry is very worked up about this, but I'm sure there must be Arsenal fans.
I'm not very worked up.
You seem very worked up.
I'm just bemused that, you know... You see, I think...
do you mind if I finish my offer to the audience before you continue to talk over me?
Please do.
So, I mean, what I'm saying is there must be Arsenal fans out there who think that actually Thierry Henry might make a very good manager, because the thing I've got...
Yeah, but no evidence of that, you see.
Well, there isn't, no, but I mean, the trouble with Arsenal at the moment is that they are in danger, as we've often said, of becoming the next Manchester United. Yeah. Not to say that United will now not be great again with Jose Mourinho, but to not have a kind of a succession plan for Sir Alex Ferguson. Arsenal don't have a succession plan for Arsene Wenger. They don't know who they want.
Could be true. And also, I think there's a bit of arrogance about saying, I'd like to be Arsenal manager one day. I'm not suggesting that Monsieur Henry is in himself arrogant. I think it's a self-belief players have. For instance, over the same weekend, we got Rio Ferdinand, a man who, you know, graced the game with magnificence, saying he'd like to be England manager one day. I mean, this is all pie-in-the-sky stuff, you see what I mean?
Yeah.
And if all these players are coming out of the game immensely wealthy, hugely experienced, and with a cabinet full of trophies... I think somewhere along the line somebody's not telling them that doesn't qualify you to be a manager, let alone Arsenal manager, and far let alone England manager.
But
it just doesn't.
But don't you also think that the current state of the Premier League is such that we're only going to see people like Mourinho?
What do you mean current state?
The current state of it, which is that
it's in brilliant shape.
Well, of course it is.
Yes.
But just by saying the current state of it does not describe it as in a bad way.
Current state is usually dismissive.
No, it's not.
It is.
No, the current state means the state it is in now.
The state we're in.
The state we're in.
Who wrote that book?
The state we're in.
What's his name? You know, used to edit The Observer.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
The state we're in about this country. Anyway, go on.
It didn't prove to be correct.
No, it wasn't. No, it was wholly inaccurate.
It was wholly inaccurate, yeah. No, I mean, the point about the Premier League now is that because it's so high profile, it's so worldwide and global, it's so full of money.
Yes.
You wonder whether the only people that will ever be appointed at the top levels of the table are actually going to be incredibly experienced older European managers.
It could be. I mean,
you'll never get anybody else.
It could be. All the best managers in the world are Pep Guardiola.
Yeah.
Well, no, there's a couple of others. But I mean, some of the best managers in the world, right?
Yeah.
Came from very, very humble football beginnings, like Jose, like Sir Alex Ferguson.
Yeah.
These people came from nowhere.
Well, they didn't come from nowhere, but I mean, that's not the story.
Jose did. Jose was an interpreter.
Came from Porto.
Yeah, and he was an interpreter.
Well, he was
to Bobby Robson.
Well, yeah,
carried Bobby Robson's bags off the plane when Bobby Robson was Barcelona manager.
The Barcelona structure.
Talk Sport on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM. The enduring home of football.
It's modern radio, only better.
Talk Sport.
That boy needs therapy. Psychosomatic.
This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics in for Colin Murray. We've got winners and losers coming up a little bit later on, which could be very, very pivotal because it could be the final winners and losers before a new season kicks off.
Indeed.
Currently set at 7 points each. Here's one from TMU. It says, so Gary Neville's job was to analyse the opposition and the Iceland set pieces and long throws that led to England's downfall. Got a good point there because if that was his analysis, then clearly it didn't work terribly well.
Well, I think it's a situation where you can take the horse to the water. You can't make the horse drink the water.
Well, the horse wasn't playing for England, though.
No, but
the people who were playing for England should have known about the long throw threat, which they didn't. And if that was his analysis, it was not very good.
Well, no, you see, what I'm saying is, Mike, he individually analyses the plays. He then tells Roy Hodgson.
Well,
he doesn't
did he
tell the players
individually
directly.
analyse the guy that throws the ball?
Yeah, he did, yeah. And then he would have told Roy Hodgson, look, this is where the main threat's not his fault.
I don't know why
Roy
you're making
Hodgson.
so many excuses for it.
I'm not making excuses. I'm
Sounds
just
like
telling you the way things work, and you don't
see.
fully understand yourself.
Well, OK. Well, I don't think anyone in the England setup understands what happens, because if they did, they certainly would be performing slightly better than they did in the Euros. But
You
that's
could
another
well be
story
right, couldn't you?
for another day. Let's talk to Parry Groves, former Arsenal player, and find out what he makes of Thierry Henry's wish to become the manager and whether he'd be any good at it. Parry, very good morning to you.
Morning, boys.
What do you make of Thierry Henry's wish to be Arsenal manager when he's ready? What do you make of that?
Yeah, but the thing is, he can't want to do it that desperately, can he? Because he'd stayed there and coached the under-18s and he'd learn his trade. So at the moment, his priority is to be an analyst on Sky TV, which he gets very well paid for. You can't just walk in and try and be a manager. You just mentioned Gary Neville there. He had, I don't know if it's confidence or arrogance to go to Valencia and try and manage a massive team like that where he didn't know the culture, he didn't know the language, and look what happened to him. So you have to learn your trade, coaching the youth team, and learn different aspects of the game, because all the coaching badges in the world, you don't actually tell you how to deal with human beings. And that's, as a manager, that's your job.
Yeah, I mean, that's quite a strident view to take, Parry. What you're saying is, at the moment, Thierry Henry seems to want his cake and eat it. The cake being the bunch you get for being a very popular broadcaster. The wanting to eat it bit is, and when I'm ready, I'll come back and be Arsenal manager. I understand exactly what you're saying. The two are completely separate ambitions in life, aren't they?
Yeah, but the thing is, Mike, is what you're saying there is he wants to be a part-time coach and a part-time analyst on Sky. And if you split yourself between the two, you never do the one thing properly.
No, I'm
100% committed to Arsenal Football Club if you want to be a coach there.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you on that one. Are you saying that if a man who's just retired, like, say, Ryan Giggs is a perfect example, he's then got to actually say, now I pursue my coaching career without being distracted by other things, if those other things may be broadcasting?
100%, because you need to give it your full commitment, and everybody knows it's not, when you're fully paid professional football, it's not a part-time job. So Ryan Giggs needs to go down into, even if it's the conference or in League Two, take over a team, then implement his own ideas and his philosophies, and he will come up against situations. As I said, you're dealing with 25 different characters, 25 different human beings, and it's about your man management skills. You can put cones out, you can have a coach's coach telling you to pull your socks up and look smart and have your clipboard and your flip chart. But isn't that part of the problem, Parry? Because you saw somebody like Teddy Sheringham going off and trying to do that pretty unsuccessfully. And from a club point of view, why would you want to give Ryan Giggs a coaching job because he hadn't done it anywhere else, and because you might want to give him a chance to get better so he can leave? Do you know what I mean? There's a kind of a double-edged sword there, isn't there? It is, but that happens at the lower leagues anyway, where you coach younger players. You know for well that it's going to be a stepping stone to them, them go and do bigger and better things, hopefully. So if he learns his trade at the lower league, and then someone comes in to get him, it means that he's done a brilliant job at that club. So that club will then make their way up the league. They might even, be in the playoffs or at the top of the league, and then he'll move on.
And just the final question I'm going to ask you, Parry, is: do Arsenal have no strategy at the moment for replacing Wenger if and when he leaves, either at the end of this season or the end of next season? It seems as though, watching what happened to Man United, they might want to get one.
Well, I think they probably have 3 or 4 managers in mind when Arsenal actually decides to leave. I think his contract's up at the end of this season. Because a multi-billion-pound company like Arsenal, you have to have some foresight, look into the future and think what might happen.
Well, you'd think so. Guys, you'd think so. You'd like to think so, wouldn't you?
Yeah, but what happens is football is so fluid. The manager they could have in their mind at the moment, he might have a bad 6 months to 12 months, and then he wouldn't be the person to come in and take Arsenal.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I'd imagine they'll probably have 3 or 4. But I think with Arsenal, it's a case of being careful what you wish for, because as you just said there, we see with Manchester United, a dynasty can sort of fold very quickly if you don't get the right person in charge.
Indeed.
Absolutely right. Parry, listen,
Parry, thank you very much.
Indeed. Parry Groves there giving us this view on Thierry Henry, and I think quite an interesting view that, as I said at the start of the show, it's a bit rich of Thierry Henry to go, well, when I'm ready, then that would be great, As if, I'm ready to be Arsenal coach now.
That's entirely my point. I mean, no, to be honest, Mike, sorry to have to correct you, he didn't say I'm ready to be the Arsenal coach now. He said,
no,
I would like to be the coach in the future.
What
right?
I'm saying is that it's pretty rich of him to say that when I'm ready, i.e. whenever he feels like being ready,
absolutely,
that he will be the Arsenal coach.
Yeah, he actually says it when I've got the badges. Now, if he's not even gone on the badges, most professional footballers have usually started their badges, in my experience, before they've finished with the game, before they retired. You see him all the time. Phil Neville, Gary Neville, I think, certainly Phil Neville anyway, he started doing his badges when he was still captain of Everton.
Right.
And that's...
Where is he now, by the way?
Phil,
is he still down there in Valencia?
No, he's not, no. He's left now, and he's back home in Cheshire.
All right. So he's not working currently?
Well, I don't know. I can't answer that question. He's not got a high-profile coaching job. That's true. But what I'm saying is...
If we want to hear from some more callers.
We're going to hear from them in a minute. So Phil said, my ambition now is to be a coach. So he got his coaching badges. That's an indication to everybody, isn't it? I'm serious about being a coach.
Well,
Thierry Henry hasn't got there yet.
Thierry.
Yeah.
Let's talk to Nick, who's a Spurs fan. Nick, a very good morning to you.
Morning, guys. How are you?
Yeah, very well.
Thank you.
What do you think, Nick?
Well, needless to say, I couldn't give a monkey's who the Arsenal manager is. But,
no, you could. You don't want him to get anybody brilliant, obviously.
No, but this is my point. I'm amazed, listening to everyone, that people are saying he can't walk straight in and do the job. I mean, that amazes me in this day and age of football.
Why?
We've seen Pep Guardiola to a certain extent do it at Barcelona.
Yeah.
And if people want to say, well, Pep had a bit of experience with the beating, okay. So let's have a look at Tito Villanova when he took over, God rest his soul. Let's have a look at Luis Enrique.
Yeah, but that's a very special case, Nick. You're talking about 3 people at Barcelona.
Yeah, but the point is, listen, Zinedine Zidane, another one, he's only got into Real Madrid for half a season. The guy just picked up a Champions League.
Well, yeah, but it wasn't his team. Wasn't his team, mostly.
No, correct. But Roberto Di Matteo, Chelsea won the Champions League. Now, a lot of people say that was the players that won that because it was their last hurrah and it was nothing to do with it.
Yeah.
The point I'm trying to make is this.
Yes.
Any player who's played under good managers like Henry has will have a bit of an idea about tactics and how to implement tactics. But that will just come from working with good managers.
No, but it's from a totally different perspective. It's from the perspective of being a player receiving the knowledge and receiving the guidance and the motivation from Thierry Henry. You can't just suddenly then kidnap that, put it in a tin, lock it up and then go and release it when you become a coach.
It's all about tins with you, isn't it?
The point is this. If the players buy into him, this is all it comes down to. You'll be successful. He could be successful at Arsenal if he went into that dressing room and the likes of Sanchez, Ozil, Cech, well, Koscielny and Giroud, they're French, so they definitely will. Yeah. If they believe in Thierry Henry, if they buy into his
didn't he just say that?
Immediately,
didn't he just say that Arsenal can't win the title with Giroud?
But the whole point, he obviously maybe signed someone else. But the whole
that's what I mean. So I'm not sure he's going to buy into Thierry Henry coming in, though.
Well, but it's a perfect club for him because no disrespect to Arsenal, but their ambitions as a board would be perfect for Henry.
So why didn't Tony Adams
immediately?
Why didn't Tony Adams manage to become an immediately successful manager? Because his record is outstanding. 2 doubles, 2 other Premier League titles, FA Cups galore. So he goes into the Portsmouth dressing room and everything falls apart. I don't buy the idea that a great player walks into a dressing room and all of a sudden the players are motivated.
No, they've got to buy. Listen, I'll make you right. They've got to buy into him. But what I'm trying to say is, would those players, would the Sanchez, would the Ozil, would they like to play under someone so passionate and so
How do you know he's passionate?
Fragrant as Henri.
How do you know he's passionate? He's passionate when he's in a TV studio. No, sorry, he may be.
He's actually not that passionate in a TV studio.
Well, OK, he's not that passionate in a TV studio, but at least he's enforcing his views. I don't know what he's like in a tracksuit, neither does anybody else, and that would be the big risk.
It looks quite good in one, I think. Nick, thank you very much indeed for your call. The thing about that as well is what I was saying earlier about the size of football clubs now at the top end of the Premier League.
Yes.
It's not just about motivating the players. You've got to be a PR man. You've got to go out there and do interviews. You've got to do all of that. You'd be probably quite good at that. But, you can't immediately expect someone like Ryan Giggs to do that because he's not quite such an outgoing personality.
Well, President Obama's quite good at that. But has he been a successful president?
Well, that's another story altogether.
It's a debate, isn't it?
I don't think he'd be much good as Arsenal manager.
Well, he certainly wouldn't be.
No. This is Talk Sport. Good morning, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry, and you're listening to the Two Mics, and we're in for Colin Murray all week. Coming up later on in this hour, we'll be talking to an expert on outdoor televisions, because apparently come this late summer, everybody's going to be having one. I've seen a couple of them outdoor pubs and things, but I'm not sure how they're going to work.
No,
we're talking to Brian Viner, I think.
They're becoming affordable now for domestic use, so this coming...
You could get one on your lavish roof terrace.
I might do.
Mind you, you can only get a small, like, 12-inch one for that.
No.
Otherwise it would dwarf the place.
No, I could get a giant one, and it's going to become the in thing to do this winter.
We're also going to reveal Mr. Parry's watch of the day, of course. You're listening to the Two Mics with me, Mike Graham, and Mike Parry on TalkSport. Got a great one here about the Wicks phone-in from Fitz, because some people are debating on Twitter, where you can reach us at the Two Mics, that all you got to do basically is ring in and agree with you. And win the money.
No, not
which,
at
of
all.
course, is not the way it works at all.
Not at all.
He says, yes. He says, what I'm going to do is phone up every day for the next 2 weeks and get my kitchen finished.
yeah, that's a very good idea, actually.
But of course, that wouldn't be the way it would work.
Very good idea to do your kitchen, though.
Yeah, what we can say, though, is of course, the new Wicks catalogue, which is out now, you can go and see what's going on. But also, our free 1 hour click and collect service means that we'll have your order ready, so you're back on the job in no time with Wicks. And the Two Mics, of course.
Indeed, absolutely.
So, now, your watch of the day today.
Yeah.
I've taken a picture of it. I'm just about to send it out.
Good.
This was because, for those who didn't listen to the show last week, you were boasting on about how you had 26 different timepieces.
I didn't boast.
None of which so far have actually worked. So far, you produced one where the strap broke on the way into work.
Yeah, that's right.
Right. You produced one where you said it was linked to some supercomputer in Coventry.
That's right.
Even though it was 3 minutes fast.
It was.
And the one that you've got on today, which appears to be a Bench.
It's a Bench,
brand.
But
I don't know why you'd get that, because
that's
famous for being like the branded sort of hoodies.
Is it?
And yeah, sort of leisure clothing that teenagers wear.
Well, I'm certainly not a hoodie, but this watch...
You're not a hoodie?
I'm not a hoodie.
Have you got a hoodie?
No, I haven't got a hoodie,
Why
no.
not?
Well, have you?
No.
No, well, why are you asking me if I've got a hoodie?
Well, because you've got a lot of things that I don't have. You've got shoes that fasten with Velcro.
Yeah.
You've got very, very weird purple trousers.
Yeah.
You've got some very odd shirts. So why wouldn't you have a hoodie?
I've got a couple of houses.
You've got a Packer-Mac. You've got a Packer-Mac. You can't wear houses.
I've got a decent car, which you haven't got. But apart from that, we're pretty equal. You agree? Well, now then, this Bench watch, okay? Now, you've taken a picture of it. I don't mind that. Now, people will say, well, it's the wrong time.
Yeah.
Well, that's because it's not ticking, actually.
Why is it not ticking?
Well, because the batteries run out. And if the batteries run out, it doesn't work.
Okay.
Now,
well, let me ask you a question.
Yes.
If you have 26 watches,
yes,
and they, none of them, say at least half of them don't work,
yes,
what's the point of keeping them?
Well, you just put them in a drawer. You don't actually throw watches out. You wouldn't throw a watch out because it's rather a nice and useful sort of ornamental piece of jewellery, isn't it?
Junk.
Yeah, junk if the batteries don't work.
How much would you say that watch is worth?
Probably about 20 quid.
20 quid?
I would say.
And do you remember when you bought it?
No. I don't.
Do you remember how you got it?
I bought it at an airport.
You bought it at an airport?
Yeah,
I like to buy a lot of things at airports.
What I like about watches, I like really big faces, okay?
Yeah, because you've got a big face, haven't you?
No, you've got a bigger face than me. And that's
you
been commented
right into
on.
That one.
Just been commented on a few times. But this has got a really big face, and it sits well on my wrist. I can't stand small watches.
What time does it actually say?
It's at the moment. It's hard to read the fingers because they're see-through. But they are see-through.
What do you mean they're see-through?
What I mean, but
what do you mean? What time does it say?
Do you know what? This is strange. I've just noticed something about this.
It's got a load of weird numbers around it.
Yeah, it has actually. It goes.
Is it actually a watch?
It goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 7. No, it goes 1, 2, 3, 7, 8, 9, 10.
What are all these weird numbers around the outside? 60, 80, 75,
it also
240.
It also says it's a tachymeter.
Yeah.
But anyway...
Certainly tacky.
No, I think it's great. I only found this because I was looking for one of my collection of watches.
Well, obviously, because we're doing Watch of the Day.
You did
boast about them.
You asked me an innocent question last week. You said, how many watches you got? I said about 20 to 25.
Yeah.
And I counted them, there were 26 when I got home.
Right.
So I thought,
And then you keep them all in your dressing table drawer, don't you?
No, they're in different drawers around the house.
You told me last week they're all in one drawer.
A lot of them were in one drawer, but I found them in other drawers. Now, I'll tell you what else I'm looking for.
It's kind of a watch hunt you can go on.
Well, I'm telling you what I'm looking for, because I remembered...
You haven't answered the question.
What?
The question was, what time does it say?
Oh, it says... let me see. It's difficult to read them, because they're see-through. It says 25 to 6.
Because I'll tell you what it is. It's very clear.
Yeah.
What they do is they go... It's got a normal watch face. It goes 1, 2, 3. But then because it's got bench, or actually bank, because the H is missing down across the bottom of the face, they have not inserted 4, 5 and 6.
That's right.
So it doesn't go 1, 2, 3, 7.
Yeah.
They just... I mean, in the place of the 4, 5 and 6, there's nothing.
Yes, that's right.
So you're supposed to be intelligent enough to realise if the small hand's pointing straight down, it's coming up to 6 o'clock.
Well, I am, don't worry.
Yeah.
But I shot bolt upright in bed last night,
Oh,
okay,
God, really?
when I had a
Horrible thought.
and that is that somewhere I have got a watch that I bought in Russia.
Have you?
The very first time I went there, when it was still under communist rule.
Did you buy it on the street or in a reputable establishment?
I bought it from a guy who sidled up to me in a restaurant where we were having sort of dinner, and it was a restaurant
from the KGB then.
Well, this
probably bugged.
No, this restaurant could only be used by the KGB.
So the watch has probably got a listening device in it.
And Westerners. And it had
I bet you the watch has got a listening device in it.
Well, it might have, but it's a very unique watch, and it must be a lot of money. No, do you know why?
How much did you pay the guy for it?
About $20, I think.
Really?
Something like that. And it's got a picture of Mr. Gorbachev's face on the front.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
So it's a Gorbachev watch.
It's a Gorbachev watch.
Oh.
Yeah. And it is quite, I mean, when I say unique, I mean, unique means one only. There probably more of them were made.
It's probably not unique then.
Well, it may or may not be, but I bet
That's unlikely.
I bet you, if you...
I bet you're the only idiot that bought one from this guy, though.
If you put out between now and this time next year, and that's our millions of listeners, have any of them got a Gorbachev watch? I bet you not many of them would reply and say yes.
Now, do you know Europa League football is big coming up this
huge.
week, right?
This is
huge game. I think we should draw everybody's attention to it. It's up in North Wales, right?
Well, it's in Rhyl.
Thursday night. Well, that's in North Wales, isn't it?
It is in North Wales,
Well,
right.
I said North Wales in order to give you the opportunity to say where it was, precisely.
Why are you so touchy this morning?
Touchy? I'm not
you're
touchy.
touchy about everything. You're jumping on everything I'm saying. I don't know why.
Because I don't want you to take over the show, that's why.
Anyway, listen, Rhyl is probably, I would say, the crummiest resort in North Wales.
Crummiest.
Sorry to have to say that, but it is. I mean,
there's quite a few competing for that.
No, there's lots of nice places.
Very harsh, that.
Lots of nice places around there. There is Prestatyn.
Yeah.
There's Talaka Beach.
Yeah.
There's
Llandudno.
There's Llandudno. There's Colwyn Bay.
Yeah.
And you can go down as far as Aberystwyth. But Rhyl, I'm afraid, is a bit of a write-off.
Yeah.
Now,
but that's where the game is, though.
Yeah, it is a game. Now, it's between Connors Quay Nomads and Vojvodina.
Vojvodina.
That's right, Vojvodina, and they're from Serbia.
They are, yeah.
And it's the first preliminary round of the European tour of UEFA.
What's the name of the Nomads team?
Connors Quay.
Connors Quay.
Now,
okay. Is that another resort?
No, Connors Quay's a town.
No,
it's a little town in North Wales. It's not on the coast.
Right.
It's near to Shotton Steelworks that was, and it's just over the border from Chester. In fact, if you go
you
down,
must know it well then.
I do. If you go down past Sealand, Road past Chester FC.
Well, you don't have to be that specific. Is it near the Delamere Forest?
No, nowhere near Delamere Forest. That's within Cheshire. Go down the Sealand Road, past Chester FC, and 200 yards down the road to the Welsh border. Go over there. You're in Deeside, and the first place you come to is Connors Quay.
Oh, okay.
They've got a very big swimming pool there.
Well, why are they in the Europa League, the Nomads?
They must have won the Welsh Cup or something, and they have only got a small ground, so they're playing at Rhyl. So that is the first sort of European game of the season, I think. Obviously, there've been others. By the way,
Celtic have played already, haven't they? Because they famously got humiliated in Malta.
In Malta, you're absolutely right.
I think the replay's this week as well, actually.
What?
The replay at Celtic Park will be this week.
You mean the second leg or whatever? Yeah.
Well, sorry, the second leg.
Absolutely right. Yeah. Anyway, there we go. So that would be a very interesting game. Because I'm thinking aloud, and all the Connors Quay fans will be travelling there. Now, of course, I have history with the Welsh League.
dear.
Because me and my mates used to play for Colwyn Bay.
Why are you banging the desk like that?
I'm just making the point.
Oh, okay.
We used to play for Colwyn Bay. So, for instance, we could play for Browns of Chester on Sunday morning.
Browns of Chester, what you mean, the Harrods of the North?
The Harrods of the North. But the previous Saturday, we might have played for Colwyn Bay.
Right.
And it was brilliant because you got paid...
Isn't that a bit unfair? It's a bit kind of like ringers, isn't it?
Not really. Colwyn Bay was semi-professional. We'd get paid about £10 or £12 for playing for Colwyn Bay. Drive back to Chester.
You've never played for a semi-professional football team.
I actually didn't ever get on the pitch.
No,
but I once got changed. I once got changed.
You once got changed.
No,
How much you get for getting changed?
Well,
a pound?
No, I didn't get paid for that. But my two mates, who were Kevin Little and Graham Lightfoot, played for Colwyn
Do you think
Bay.
they might be listening?
They might be. I
Well,
don't
if they
know.
are, I'd like to hear from them. I'd like their version of this story, because I'm sure that not only did you not actually go anywhere near the pitch, but you probably just drove them there.
Well, I was actually driving, funnily enough.
Yeah.
But no, because I borrowed the Chester Chronicle office car to get there.
Okay.
But
now, have you seen the time, by the way? Look, it's getting very late. Phil has had a look at your watch. He says, absolute junk. You're letting the Porky tribe down with these embarrassing kids' watches.
No.
Shocking effort. Every watch you've got so far looks like a child's watch. I kid you not.
No.
Go and have a look at it on Twitter. This is TalkSport.
On digital radio and 1089 and 1053 AM. TalkSport.
This is TalkSport. We are the two mics. Got loads and loads of tweets coming in on the subject of your watch, which is a bench mark, some would say.
Well,
Chris says this. That's a piece of junk. I wouldn't give it to a charity shop.
What do you mean?
Well, I think that's fairly self-explanatory.
It's not a piece of junk. It's a unique watch. I'm not even claiming it's expensive, but the point is, it's one of a collection of watches I have, and actually, it's very easy on the eye and very easy on the wrist in a working day because it's got a very flexible. What do you call this? Strap.
Flexible strap.
Yeah.
Jason says that watch is definitely an airport purchase, or it could have been bought from a man in the street. John says at this rate, when Porky brings his Rolex into the studio, it'll be a Timex with Rolex written all over it in biro. Funnily enough, I meant to mention this to you actually on Friday late afternoon, after we'd been talking about Swatch last week, because Swatch was one of the watches he brought in last week.
Have we photographed the Swatch watch yet?
Yeah, that was
that's a good one.
But you know what happened to their share price? After you talked about them, their share price plummeted.
Well, that's not my fault.
So the Porky Jinx has even hit the old jewellery market.
Indeed.
Which is shocking. But you did wear the Rolex, did you not, on a Saturday night in rugby?
I did, and it was commented on by a number of people, but it unfortunately...
Well, we tried to sort of describe it on stage. It looked rather gaudy to me.
No, it's not gaudy at all, actually. And funny enough, I've seen gaudier Rolexes, which are the size of this one I have on now. The face of my Rolex is a lot narrower than that. Listen, what do you think about old Jose sitting down watching the telly in his £25 million house and then suddenly being alerted by the maid to what?
To a burglar who was trying to break into his house in a very, very expensive part of Chelsea, you'd have to say. And there's an interesting picture on the front page of The Sun of the burglar being surrounded by cops. And, of course, Jose standing. I mean, the thing that struck me about that was, I mean, I don't know how many people listening to this show have ever had their houses burgled while they were in them. But all I do know is that if you call the police and say you've been burgled, even though the guy's not actually there, you very rarely see a police officer actually come around and take your details.
Well, they got there pretty quick.
Well, they did, but I mean, this is Jose Mourinho, this is Chelsea.
Well, also, they didn't have to guess who lived there because this is such an exclusive enclave of, what is it, Knightsbridge or somewhere?
Well, it's around the back of sort of somewhere between Knightsbridge and Chelsea, I think.
Sort of Eaton Square
around
direction,
there,
that kind of stuff. House is worth 25 million quid.
Yeah.
The residents employ their own security guards, right, to patrol the streets, which is a great thing.
Yeah.
Because it gives you confidence, or should do, in sitting in your home.
And I don't want to do the police a disservice.
Oh, no.
I mean, if you call them and say there's a burglar actually in the house, they probably will come round.
Yeah.
But I've never had a situation where you call the police and they 8 of them turn up just because your house has been burgled.
Well, luckily, I've never been burgled because I take precautions against burgles. No, never.
Oh, you've got the iron gate on the front of your apartment.
No, I've got a decorative outer gate to my house.
Prison door.
And it's white and it's beautifully engraved sort of flowers in metal and all that kind of stuff.
You should see a picture of it. But it looks weird, though, because in the corridor in which it sits, there are no other gates like it.
Well, there's only one other apartment opposite. And,
don't they feel a bit sort of put down?
No, they love it.
Like you put the gate up to kind of keep them out.
No, they love it. They open their door and they straight across a rather wide corridor to mine, and they love the gate because it's...
Why is it a wide corridor?
Well, because that's the way the architecture of the
why is it just an ordinary corridor?
Well, it is an ordinary corridor, but there's quite a gap between their door and mine. There's quite a few feet.
All right.
That's all I'm saying. Now, on this occasion, the security guard sort of rings in. Rings the cops and says, look, we've got a prowler. Now, you're quite right. The cops want to say, what do you mean you've got a prowler? Has the prowler got in anywhere yet? And they say, no, but he's just gone down into the basement of Jose Mourinho's house.
Right.
You'd have 50 cops around there instantly.
Yeah, exactly.
Cops always,
always
respond to high-profile cases.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. If you're an ordinary individual
Yes.
And you try and get a police officer to come round to your house, all they want to do is give you a crime number and say, well, if you give this to your insurance company, I'm sure that'll be fine.
Yeah, I read something over the weekend that there are literally millions of calls have gone unanswered to that new... Is it 101, the new number?
I think so, yeah.
101?
Sure. Instead of 999?
Yeah, instead of dialing 999, dial the intermediate number 101, they don't get answered. Talking about police, by the way, I'm starting my campaign today against the constabulary of the M25.
Yeah, because you had a bit of a run-in, didn't you?
Well, it's outrageous. I'm coming back from rugby after our Saturday night show.
It's not outrageous.
It is outrageous. I'm coming back from rugby after our Saturday night show, right? I'm whizzing down the M1 and I'm whizzing around the M25 to get to my stockbroker belt pad so that I can get myself sorted to get in here to do the show we did yesterday, the warm-up.
Just come straight in here.
Well, because I can't stand driving out of London on a Sunday afternoon. I got caught a couple of weeks ago and it took me 3 hours to get home, ridiculously as it sounds. And so all of a sudden... the gantries on the top suddenly flash up red X signals on every lane.
Which means the lane's closed.
On every lane, except the inside lane,
right, so
which had 40. Which had 40.
So not on every lane.
On every lane except the inside lane, which had 40 on it, okay?
Right.
So that means traffic travelling in 4 lanes has to... try and narrow itself down to 1.
Yes.
A very, very timely procedure. So I slowed down to almost, 25, 30 miles an hour. I moved across 1 lane. Yeah. So I'm now in lane 3. That's right.
4,
Lane 3, 4. And then I saw in the way distance... blue lights flashing, coming up in lane 4, and I thought, well, they're obviously going to the accident that must have occurred up ahead, right?
And were there cars in lanes 2 and 1, presumably?
Yes, there were.
So you couldn't pull into 2?
Solid, I couldn't pull into 2. Pull into 2.
Right.
So I'm crawling, and I'm having to look at a number of things. First of all, an approaching police car in the spare lane on my right. Yeah. Secondly, traffic behind me, because I'm going very slowly and don't want to stop the traffic. Thirdly, a space on the left to try and get into there.
Was there anybody in front of you in lane 3?
Yes, there was, there were a couple of cars in front. Yeah. And fourthly, I'm looking at how many X's I'm going through because I know that you're not supposed to, but I had no other choice.
Oh, I see.
So the cop car pulls up alongside me, and for some unknown reason, out of the corner of my eye, I see it's not moving forward. It's doing the same speed as me. I look over, and the cop has got his left hand out the window, and he's waving, put your window down. Yeah. So I put my window down, and he said, you've just gone through 3 red X's. I said, what? He said, that's an infringement of the road traffic laws.
Yes, he's right about that.
You will get 3 points on your licence.
He's right about that too.
You will receive the notification in the post. Now move over. And then he roared off.
Yeah. What about the people in front of you? Why did he not tell
them? I've no idea. This cop, I don't know where he wanted me to go. There was nowhere for me to go. And if I'd have stopped because of the next X red had come up...
What I don't understand is why he only gave this speech to you. He didn't talk to the people behind you?
Well...
He didn't talk to the people in front of you?
It's funny you should say that, because when I first saw the blue lights flashing in my distant mirror, I thought he'll be here in seconds, and it took him a long time to get up parallel to me.
Right. So maybe he was telling everybody else.
That's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking he must have told more people. So, but the thing is, if I'd have had time, I'd have said to old, Dixon and Doc Green there...
why are you being so disrespectful to the men in uniform?
Because I don't think this policeman had thought it through. Where did he want me to go? There was nowhere for me to go. I couldn't go left. Nobody was letting me in because...
Well, you should have gone left earlier.
Because so much traffic was crushing into 2 lanes. No, I couldn't.
No, I think the point is you've got to take this like a man.
No, and then...
Pay the fine and take the points.
And then when he said, you mustn't go through another X, in that case, I would have stopped dead on the motorway and caused a massive obstruction with all the cars behind me.
Well,
I had nowhere to go.
I think you're in the wrong here.
I'm telling you something.
It's pathetic to try and get out of it by saying that you've been victimised.
I'm telling you something. If I get a notice on this... I will plead not guilty because I'm not guilty. I haven't had any.
It sounds like you are guilty.
I haven't had any points on my licence for 10 years. I have a clean driving licence. I'm not going to have my record besmirched by a cop who couldn't think the situation out in an emergency.
I see. Well, I think you're being very unfair to the policeman who's just trying to do his job. And you just take the points and just pay the fine and just move on.
And if said policeman or his mate to listening, it was just before Junction 16 on the M25 at 7:15 a.m. yesterday morning.
Okay, all right. Well, we'll hear more about that, I'm sure, throughout the course course of the week when the penalty fine arrives. We got lots more coming up, including what to do to get yourself an outdoor television. This is Talk Sport. This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics in for Colin Murray, of course. We've got lots going on, including the Porky quiz coming up a little bit later on, which is on England managers since Sir Alf Ramsey. I'm going to be predicting about 4 out of 10 on that one. By the way, you know you've been having some interesting sort of tiffs with Liam Gallagher over the course of the last few weeks, really, ever since you got into a Twitter spat with him.
Yes.
His people have said that he's not interested in doing an interview at the moment, partly because he hasn't got anything to promote. But actually, I saw a story yesterday which suggested that his Pretty Green fashion label is actually doing a bit better this year than it has done in the past. Because for the last couple of years,
great in the past.
Well, the last couple of years, he's been making a loss.
Oh, really?
Apparently, for the first time, he is now declaring that he's had a few years of struggle, but now finally it's all coming together. Made a £1.9 million loss the year before last. He's now made a £114,000 profit.
Yeah, but that still means he's £1.8 million down.
Well, it does, but he's now apparently 1.5 million in the black. He's managed to open 15 shops, and he's employing 130 people.
Is this an internet venture, or is it shops?
Well, no, it's properly shops.
Well, that's a properly run business, that. That's a Mike Ashley type business.
Well, I mean, it's not quite as big as that.
No, but I mean, it's a retail chain.
But certainly what it means is that there's not just one shop in Cardiff Street. You know, there's all sorts of shops all over the place.
But the profit of 125,000 is about half of what Oasis would expect to earn in a night at a concert.
Yes.
You know, at a football stadium or something like that. Or perhaps a quarter, I don't know. They earn big money. I noticed, by the way, he hasn't put any tweets out since our Twitter spat a week last Saturday. Yes. Week last Friday, I'm sorry. So 2 weeks ago, 2 weeks today.
Are you sure you know when this happened?
Yeah.
I'm now completely confused.
No, 2 weeks ago today was the Twitter spat. He hasn't put it out. But this morning, he put out a picture of John Lennon.
Oh, yeah.
And there's no explanation to it, no caption, nothing like that. But, of course, we know that he is a huge fan of John Lennon, as am I. So maybe he's offering an olive branch.
Yeah, maybe so. We shall see what happens. Yeah. But, I mean, basically, they're now talking about other people. There's other shareholders in the company who include your good friend, Mr. Joe Cole, apparently.
Oh, really?
So maybe you should talk to Joe.
Oh, that's amazing.
And get him to be an intermediary.
Absolutely,
They're talking about ploughing an extra 20 million quid into the whole into the business venture.
Well, I think that just shows that actually old Liam might be the front man for it in terms of name, sleeping partner, and businessmen are actually running the thing.
Indeed. Now, there's been a wicket in the cricket. Let's go over to John Norman at Lords. John.
310 for 8 Pakistan, and it is wicket number 6 for Chris Wokes. It was full, it was swinging, it was too good for Wahab Riaz, who's been castled for a duck, and England are roaring back into this match. 2 wickets falling in the over. Pakistan 310 for 8.
Thank you very much indeed. Now, here's another question for you. Did you see that amazing picture of Chris Froome running up the mountain road to get to the finish line?
Astonishing.
Now, what I didn't realise, as long as you cross the line with your bike,
that's right,
it still counts, right?
Yeah.
So what I was going to suggest, I know it's going to sound like a bit of a Porky-esque idea,
yes,
but I mean, you know, when they've got trouble getting the cars up to, he had to basically run because the car was trapped behind all these people.
That's right.
Because there are as many as apparently 400,000 people on this mountain,
That's right.
Why don't they carry an extra bike on a horse? Isn't that a good idea?
No.
It's the sort of idea you would have.
No, it's ridiculous.
You would think it was
stupid
brilliant.
idea.
Why is it stupid?
Because they carry extra bikes on the top of the vans that follow them.
I know, but the cars. But the reason he couldn't get his bike onto him was because the bike was trapped behind all the traffic that was behind.
Okay, so
whereas if you had a horse, the horse could have got the bike to him much quicker.
No, it couldn't. The horse would have just trampled down the spectators who stood in the way of the motorbike that eventually forced Chris Froome to get off his bike.
No, he crashed into the motorbike. That was the point.
Yes, I know. That's what I'm saying. He had to get off, but then he tried 2 new bikes, you know.
Yeah, but they weren't his bikes, were they?
No, the first one he tried, he kind of borrowed from somebody in the crowd, and he found it's too heavy and the gears wouldn't work.
He didn't borrow it from anybody in the crowd.
The second one,
no. You don't.
So the second one came from his own team van.
No, the first one came from a posse of bikes which are brought along by the organisation, right? But it's not his own bike. He didn't just take it out of the crowd.
No, but they weren't his. It wasn't tailor-made to him.
I understand that.
Just follow, will you? Follow the plot.
I do follow the Tour de France, and you clearly don't.
We've got a guest waiting.
We haven't got a guest waiting, but we have got Bob Bupker waiting. He's going to tell us what's going on up at Trun. Bob. Oh, no, we haven't got Bob Bupker waiting. We've got Gordon Ellis waiting.
We have indeed.
Gordon Ellis, who is, of course, the former physio at Sunderland.
Yeah.
And he's the man who's going to tell you why players keep
crash down on their knees.
Crash down on their knees. Gordon, a very good morning to you.
Yeah, good morning to you both.
Sorry to keep you waiting there, Gordon. We didn't realise you were there.
No
yeah, but Gordon, thank you very much.
Nestled in the background. Now, I mean, since you're on, I mean, we could ask you about Sunderland. What do you think's going on with? We'll ask you about the knees as well, of course, in a minute. But I mean, what's going on at Sunderland? Is Sam Allardyce going to leave? Do you think?
Well, it's a good, interesting question. I mean, at the end of the day, I used to work with Sam many years ago, and he's a really good manager.
Yes.
And you couldn't really knock him if he does take the England job. It's a pinnacle in all managers' careers to accept they've offered it. But again, working for Sun for such a long period of time, you've got to put your heart out of the Suns players. He saved them last season, and now they're expecting the same this season and better things. So it's a difficult situation for Sam to take that decision of what to do, and also the fear of the players and spectators at Sunderland to lose them.
You're absolutely right, Gordon. Gordon, as in addition to that, and thanks for that view, I wanted to ask you, as a very, very experienced physiotherapist, last night I watched the Hibernian Brøndby game. Brøndby scored after 17 seconds. The elated Brøndby player runs over to the corner line, jumps up into the air, lands down on his knees, skids across the turf. When a player's going to learn that they're in danger of completely knackering themselves by this ridiculous celebration? Knees are a very important part of a football player's physiology. Why do they do it?
Yeah, I mean, a good point there, Mike. And it's not something that just happened now. It's been going on for years. And again, it's at all levels within football. And even you see the young children actually mimicking some of it. It is a problem for a physiotherapist because you have enough to do dealing with the normal injuries. But when a person gets, we'll say, a grass burn, which is a friction burn in itself, it's basically a burn.
Yeah.
And that could last for a week up to maybe 10 days. And then there's a possibility it could be infected. Then there's a possibility if it's over a joint, that it impedes the movement of the joint. So there's lots of things around that. And it should be something, or should have been something, that should have been dealt with a long time ago.
I mean, don't managers tell their players, don't do that, it's stupid, you could injure your knee?
But they probably also tell them, don't take your shirt off because you get a yellow card. But they do that as well, don't they?
Yeah, but surely players aren't daft enough to not realise that they're in danger of damaging their body.
Yeah, I think what it is, and I'm not trying to protect the player in any way, shape or form, it's the fact that when something happens, it's the adrenaline rush that goes at that moment in time. Yeah. And I think half of the time they're actually not aware. What you cannot condone, though, is that when that person who's scored the goal, done the event, has this adrenaline rush and they do it, it's all the other players that join in as well. I mean, I've had injuries where players have actually jumped on top of them, caused neck injuries, lower spine injuries.
Yeah.
You know, and again, when you see them doing these back somersaults and so forth, there should be something within the game that says to them, yeah, I totally understand that at that moment in time, you know, this adrenaline happens, but we need to do something about it. And managers do. I've been in dressing rooms where the manager has sternly spoken to them, and I'll say that quite politely, about what they do, because at the end of the day, these players are worth an awful lot of money now, and it's increasing more. With the money that Sky's putting into the game, it's going to get higher still. So they're actually somebody that should understand that with them being out of the game, there's a lot of finances involved with it as well.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes I've seen Wayne Rooney do it. Now, you know, that's pure sheer exuberance and all that, but as he's paid £350,000 a week or something close to that by Manchester United, I'd drop him the next game if he did it and say you're threatening your own physiology.
But isn't it part? I mean, Gordon, you'll hopefully know the answer to this. I mean, isn't it also part of players' kind of personalities that when they do score a goal and it means something to them, you know, they can't help themselves. It's almost as though no matter how hard you train them, they're going to go, no, I'm sorry, you know, I've just scored a very meaningful goal. I'm going to celebrate it, you know, without a care in the world.
Yeah, I mean, they're right. I mean, I've been in situations where the physio's actually gone to the manager's actually fined the player, and because it's something which is inherent within the player itself, it's just something they kind of control about themselves.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. We looked in the records here. Harry Redknapp warned his players in 2014, don't do it. We've catalogued 9 injuries, including 2 on the training field in 5-a-sides, where players have missed games through jumping on their knees and knackering. I mean, that's a very, very delicate area of the body, isn't it, Gordon? It's such a complicated joint, the knee.
I mean, when you think about it, and if we look at it from a friction, it is a burn, and it does take a while for that area, the skin to heal. Definitely, if it's infected, it takes longer still. But every time you try to flex and extend, bend and straighten the knee joint, it actually affects the length of time of the healing process. But you also get it when you lie on the back. You get lower back prop burns, stomach burns, and to two or three things come from that you're not really focused on the game because of the pain.
Yeah.
But with most injuries with a physiotherapist, you can put a strapping on it. But with burns to a skin area, it's very hard to put a dressing on an area that isn't around a joint, so it makes it even harder still.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Okay, listen, Gordon, thank you very much indeed for taking the time to talk to us, of course. We are the Two Mics in for Colin Murray.
Now then, this is the Two Mics in for Colin Murray on Talk Sport with Wix. Are you in a hurry? Well, our free 1 hour click and collect means we'll have your order ready, so you're back on the job in no time at all.
That's right, got a great tweet here actually from Jacob, who's found some Gorbachev watches on eBay.
Has he?
He said, look, is that it there? Is that similar?
No, because that's a summit watch, isn't it? That's George Bush and Gorbachev. Mine just has Gorbachev on it.
George Bush Senior. So this is not quite. So you have to look further, Jacob, to see if you can find the real one. This is from the Gorbachev meeting with George Bush Senior in 1990.
Yes,
and it's £20 on eBay. So,
£20. Well, there you go. You see. Yeah.
Well, if you haven't got one of those, maybe you should get one.
Well, no, I don't need
watch collection.
I've got my own version that I bought on the streets of Moscow. Yes. Well, in a restaurant in Moscow. Actually.
Yes, indeed. Now we'll talk more about Mr. Parry's watch collection, of course, throughout the week. It's Watch of the Day, we call it. Where you can just have a look at it and tell us that you either like it or don't like it. So far, not a very popular one today, which comes from Bench, of course. Right now, though, we're going to talk about things to do in this beautiful weather because it's very, very warm out there today. It's going to be the hottest day of the year, we think.
Well, the next topic we're going to talk about, I prefer to talk about doing it when the weather gets inclement.
Oh, really?
When it's cold, when it's football, because this is great for the football armchair viewer, of which I'm very proudly a member.
Indeed. So apparently, things that are going to be very popular in the future are outdoor televisions. And we're going to talk to Brian Viner, who's a bit of an expert on television, because he's the Daily Mail's TV critic.
Yeah.
Brian, a very good morning to you. Welcome to the show.
Hi, guys. Actually, I'll just correct you there, Mike. I'm the film critic of the Daily Mail, not the TV critic.
Oh,
but there's lots of films on TV, aren't there?
I sense a Jay Rayner moment coming up. Does that mean you can't talk about televisions then, Brian?
No, doesn't mean that at all. No.
Now, why suddenly are these things being sort of produced, and why has it taken so long for it to happen?
I think what happened, Mike, is that in 2007, when the smoking ban came in, a lot of pubs had to sort of make a virtue of forcing their punters outdoors, so they started installing these outdoor TVs, so they could watch the tennis or the football or the whatever, and then that has, as these things often do, that has sort of mutated into a domestic use. So now they're making more and more manufacturers are making domestic TVs that you stick in your garden, and they're sort of meant to be wall mounted. But they can be freestanding as well. So I tested a few of them out for the Daily Mail and sat there very happily for about 8 hours with my beer in hand watching the cricket and the golf on Thursday.
And did you enjoy the experience, Brian? Because, we're always told, the lead to your piece says, your mum always used to say to you when you were a kid, what are you doing sitting in here watching that football on telly? Get outside and play around in the sunshine and the good weather. Did you actually enjoy the experience of...
She did, you're absolutely right. She's 91 now, my mother, so she doesn't care too much about my leisure habits.
Yes.
But I do finally have I have the perfect riposte, which is, all right, I won't stay inside because it's a lovely day watching the telly. I'll go outside because it's a lovely day and watch the telly.
Yeah.
Did I enjoy it? Yes, I did, really. I did. I mean, to be quite honest with you, I don't think I would install one of these myself because I think my wife would have something to say about that. But,
well, hang on. Who wears the trousers?
She wears one leg and I wear the other.
Okay, yeah.
Well, I mean, the other thing is, of course, that Porky's saying that he's looking forward to doing this when the weather gets a bit more inclement.
Yeah.
I mean, presumably we're not talking about you being able to sit outside, maybe with one of those, chimneys and some fire going on, and it's freezing cold. You're wrapped up wearing a coat and gloves and a hat.
Well, but that's the thing. You see, you can. They're very good under an awning, apparently, and even in indirect sunlight, they're better under an awning because you do get a bit of reflective.
An automatic awning.
But if you sit outside in your awning, doesn't matter what the weather's doing. And the other thing about these TVs is that they are expensive. They're kind of £3,000, £4,000, £5,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
But they are very, very robust, so they can apparently they can withstand temperatures of 20 degrees centigrade below, all the way up to something like 70 degrees centigrade. Yeah. So, I mean, just about anything that the great British climate can throw at them, they can withstand.
But you see, I can see this fitting perfectly into the British way of life, Brian, because, I mean, take it the weather now, you're quite right, and we've got, you've got tennis, you've got cricket, you've got motor racing going on. Now, what happens is, at the moment, where I go for barbecues and all that, we have awnings, which come out automatically when the sun comes out, right? Yeah. But then you find people walking around on the patio, but always nipping in to see whether Lewis Hamilton has still got the lead in the Formula One. Now, I would think this is going to be as much a piece of furniture in middle-class gardens over the next decade as, for instance, the petunias are at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. I think this is the coming thing, and I think the thing is, get in there now. Although if you do get in there now, the technology is quite expensive, but like all these things, if you wait for 5 years, then it'll come right down in price. Yeah. But if you do get in now, then you're ahead of the game, and you can call yourself a trendsetter. Yeah, you're absolutely right. You can sit outside, beer in hand, which is what I did all Thursday.
Exactly,
and you can have a wild time. It's great.
I mean, the other problem is, Brian, I don't know what it's like where you are, but I mean, most people would have, say, the next door neighbour's garden a few feet away. Yeah. I mean, it could become very cacophonous as a noise sitting outside trying to enjoy yourself. Do you know what I mean?
You're right. You've got to. I think what you also have to do is walk up and down the street and make sure that all your tellies are coordinated to the football.
Well, you see,
I think you don't want the Coronation Street theme tune coming out just as you and I, Mike, are watching our beloved Everton.
Well, you're absolutely right. But you see, again, take my position at the moment. I have a roof garden now at my place in Stockbroker Belt. Okay,
quite a small roof garden.
And what I have to do is I have to leave the back door open and then sit in a wooden chair at a wooden table a few feet away from the back door and watch the football that I'm watching. Now, that means that noise is being thrown out of my apartment into my roof garden and over the fence to next door. I would imagine these will have individual headphones and hearing sets, won't they?
Yeah, absolutely. And they've got built-in speakers and all the rest of it. Yeah. So you could sit there with a pair of headphones on. I didn't test them with headphones actually, but you could certainly do that. And then and it's perhaps a little bit, if you have got a barbecue going on, and you don't all want to be sitting there with headphones. It's a little bit antisocial, isn't it? But,
well, it is. But I mean, if you're all,
he's not normally with anybody though at this point. He's normally on his own.
Oh, that's very nice, isn't it? But normally speaking, supposing it was you and a couple of mates, we're all Everton fans, we'd happily sit there with pairs of headphones on because we would have a common language, talking with our eyes.
It would be. Wouldn't that be fantastic? Can you just imagine the Z-Cars music coming on when we're sitting out there in the garden? It would just be marvellous.
I do. I think
Brian, you may not be qualified to answer this question, but I mean, are these things very complicated to install? Because it sounds to me like if you're going to make sure they're insulated,
lead, don't you?
Well, no, but they have to be insulated from the water and the rain and everything like that.
Outcomes they come like that, don't they?
Necessarily know that. I mean,
listen, because I am now an expert on these things, I can tell you that there's something called an IP rating. Oh yeah. An IP stands for ingress protection. Right. Oh, yeah. And that protects against anything that might get into the TV. So. Right. From water. Some of these things you can actually, if you really want to do this, you can spray a high pressure water jet directly at, and it will continue to work. Mm-hmm. Some of them, if you have an IP rating of 68, I'm told, you can actually immerse them fully in water, which is
right.
Watch it in the bath.
Watch it in the swimming pool while you're doing a bit of scuba diving.
You can actually watch it at the bottom of the swimming pool, or better still, you can have it on your boat. And if you happen to be capsizing, you can carry on watching the telly.
Well, I'll remember that next time I take my rib out in Orwell Key.
Brian, thank you very much
Thanks,
indeed.
Brian.
Brian Viner, who's the Daily Mail's film critic there, telling us all about the outdoor television.
Think this is brilliant, Mike?
I think it is.
I think it's absolutely brilliant.
I would say his estimate of 5 years is probably a little bit long. I would say normally within a year or two, they come down by about at least 50%.
If you haven't got one of these in your back garden within 18 months, then it's the equivalent to not having a mobile phone today.
I think that's what the only other worry I've got.
This is going to spread like wildfire.
Yeah, the only other worry I've got is the glare situation. Because you'd have to set it up presumably in such a way that because there is a pub not far from TalkSport Towers which has got an outdoor TV. Right. But I was in their garden a couple of weeks ago, and you couldn't really make out the picture very well. Okay. So I don't know whether it's just a TV that's been put out there.
Here's my prediction.
Go on.
Within 12 months. I will have one of these in my roof garden.
Right. Well, perhaps you'd invite me around to watch it with you.
Maybe I will.
I'll bring my own headphones.
Yeah, bring your own headphones. Yeah, because you make quite a lot of noise anyway when the football's on. You're shouting and screaming.
We can just communicate with our eyes.
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
This is Talk Sport. Good afternoon, I'm Mike Graham, he's Mike Parry. You're listening to the two Mikes. We're in for Colin Murray all this week. Of course, we've got loads coming up in this hour, including possibly the final edition of Winners and Losers before the new season begins.
Yep.
It's currently very, very finely poised at
Certainly
7 points each, and we'll be giving our 3 winners of the weekend and 3 losers of the weekend as well, of course. Also, we'll be talking about why Usain Bolt wonders whether some athletes are getting married a little bit too young.
Indeed.
Gareth Bale just announced that he's getting married, of course, proposed to his high school sweetheart.
Yes.
So you're listening to the two Mikes with me, Mike Graham, and Mike Parry on Talk Sport. So, Usain Bolt, who has just done a fantastic new advert. Right? I'm not going to give the free advert publicity, I suppose, but it is Virgin.
It is.
We've got a sister station called Virgin, so maybe we should. But have you seen the advert? It's amazing. They actually, it shows him basically saying, do you know what it feels like to run this fast?
Yes, I've seen it. Yeah, it's
so
incredible.
They have the clock counting down.
It's incredible.
As he runs through a series of tunnels and things.
And they must have a camera on his chest or something, because it's like watching an express train going, as you quite rightly say, down the track. It is absolutely brilliant.
It's the best advert I've seen for a long time.
Yeah, it is brilliant. I totally agree. Now, the point is that during the course of that, he said, look, how old is he now? Is he 30? No, 29. 29. World's fastest man, 29. Yeah. But what he's saying is, I don't understand why so many international athletics, football stars, people who earn their living from being, athletic, get married so early.
Right.
He said, I advise Premier League footballers to stop marrying so young. He said, the problem is that they're going to get into problems, and he's being quite pragmatic here, quite realistic. He's saying, don't you realise that when you're a famous footballer, women throw themselves at you?
Well, there is that.
So if you're married, you may run into marital problems.
That's true, but is it not the case that managers, certainly up until relatively recently, quite like the idea of their young stars getting married because it kept them sort of grounded, it made them settle down sooner?
Yeah. I remember from the early days when I used to go and watch Everton with my dad, years ago, and I used to hear about the, Tony Kay once signed for Everton from Sheffield Wednesday. He ended up in jail, I'm afraid, because he got unfairly involved in a betting scam.
Right.
But that's another story. Point is, when he came over, the first thing he did was taken to McGull and shown an Everton house. This is your house, and this is where you and your wife are going to live.
Right.
And Mr. Catrick, the manager, wants to make sure you're home every night by 6 o'clock and all this kind of stuff.
Yeah.
They'd like to keep him under control.
Sure.
Absolutely right. It needs to encourage them to get married.
Right.
But I mean, I think that went a long time ago because with the
richest, it's player power now. Isn't it?
Well, of course, it's player power. Yeah, but very interestingly, right? What he says is, he says, it's hard for you to stay with one woman because girls are literally just throwing themselves at you.
Yeah.
All the footballers that are English, as soon as they get really famous, they have to get married. It's like it's a rule that they have to do. Rooney got married so young. Now, what he's basically saying is...
For Wayne Rooney, that was a good thing, it seems to me. I mean, Wayne Rooney's got a pretty happy marriage, it looks like. I mean,
he's very happy.
We don't know much about it, but,
now.
He and his wife are a very sort of effective unit, if you like,
exactly,
as a family. And maybe if Wayne Rooney hadn't got married when he was that young, the story would have been different.
Yeah, it could have been different. But, I mean, look, I'm not pointing the finger at yourself, but what he's basically saying is...
Well, you're saying I shouldn't have got married young either. I didn't get married that young, though, actually. I was 27 when I got married.
Oh, 27. I thought you were a bit younger than that. No, but what I'm saying is, if you enjoy the company of young women, then your 20s are your best years. That's what he's basically saying. So he's saying, why do these footballers get married when at the height of their fame and their wealth and all that kind of stuff, and their attraction to women's very high? And I think he's been absolutely practical because,
You're saying Gareth Bale shouldn't have got married?
Well, this is interesting. Gareth Bale got married on his 27th birthday, did he not?
Well, no, he's
engaged.
He's now 27, and they got engaged this weekend.
Sorry, he announced his engagement on his 27th birthday to his sweetheart,
Emma Rees-Jones.
Emma Rees-Jones. They met when they were 16, I think, in school.
Yeah, she's 25.
Yeah, she's 25. And isn't that amazing? That's an amazingly great love story, that. Do you know what that reminds you of?
What does it remind you of?
Is it Rocky 3, in which... No, I'm serious. In Rocky 3...
With old, Adrian...
No, Rocky 1 and 2 we know about, but in Rocky 3, doesn't it open with him doing all these adverts, he's world heavyweight champion?
Is Rocky 3 the one where he's fighting Drago?
Rocky 3 is the one where his trainer dies and he feels like his life's over and all that kind of stuff. But
Isn't he fighting Drago in that one?
I think he might be fighting Drago.
Yeah.
He might. Well, what was the fourth one then? What did he in Rocky 4?
Was when, I think, was he not... And well, maybe Rocky IV was
Yeah, Rocky IV was Drago, I'm sure. Rocky III was actually at the peak of his success, but then his trainer died and he fell to pieces. But you're absolutely right. You contrast that with the opening film, you know, when they came from the slums of where? Brooklyn? Philadelphia, that's it, yeah.
You remember that because he runs up the famous steps.
Yeah, he did, and rang the bell.
Yeah. No, he didn't ring the bell. The bell is not at the top of the steps.
Well, the bell's around there somewhere.
Bell is in the middle of the town.
Exactly, of course it is. So what I'm saying is...
I seem to remember you got 3 out of 10 on that quiz about Rocky.
Did I?
Yeah.
Okay. So what I'm saying is, you know, the Gareth Bale thing is a great love story, so that goes against the grain. But we do read every day of allegations of footballers having to deal with the temptations of young women throwing themselves at them.
Yeah.
So
there's often quite a few injunctions being thrown around.
Yeah. So I think this is very good advice. I think now footballers should say to themselves, look, we are not marriable until the age of 30.
Yeah, but
so don't bother.
I wonder what the age should be. I think maybe 27 is not a bad age to get married. And Gareth Bale tweeted out, and here's one that will surprise you, right? His tweet says, "She said yes. This is a birthday weekend I won't forget for a long time.
I know.
Celebrated with all our closest family and friends." I mean, surely he didn't expect her not to say yes.
Well,
why would you say no to Gareth Bale?
Well, I don't know, but
I mean, apart from the fact that he's incredibly wealthy,
yes,
and he's a very successful footballer, he's a lovely guy.
He's a lovely guy, and I think that's a very polite thing to do, because what you are really saying is, I take this as a great honour that my bride-to-be has agreed to marry me.
I mean, when I got married, and I decided to propose at the top of the World Trade Centre, which is sadly no longer there, windows on the world, my original plan was to get it done in the Rainbow Room, which is at the top of the Rockefeller Centre, right? Yes. And I rang them to say, I was in Costello's, funnily enough, and rang them to say...
You're angry from Costello's when you were bladderated?
Well, I was...
Of course you were.
Yeah,
that's the only reason we ever went to Costello's.
Halfway there. But I rang the guy, the maitre d' or whatever, at the Rainbow Room, and they said, terribly sorry, sir, we're shut this afternoon, because it was about 4 o'clock in the afternoon.
This afternoon,
And I went, shut? When are you in New York? Why are you shut? He's like, we'll be reopening again at 6, and I didn't want to wait till then. So I said, don't worry about it, I'll go... So I rang the Trade Centre.
Well, sorry, you just did this on the spur of the moment.
Well, no, we'd been thinking about doing it, but, I mean, nevertheless, I mean, we've been living together...
Couldn't you book the Rainbow Room for Friday evening or something?
Well, no, because it was one of those things that I just decided to do. I'd already got the ring, right, so I knew I was going to do it at some point. Yeah. So it just seemed like a good afternoon to do it.
Yeah,
and I think she was off work or something, I can't remember. Yeah. But, I rang the World Trade Centre guys, and they were like, oh, yeah, come down, do it here, because this is a much better place to do it. Yeah. I said, I can't believe the Rainbow Room was closed. Yeah. And then the final thing the guy said to me was, good luck.
Oh, right.
And I said, what do you mean? He said, well, hope she says yes. I said, of course she's going to say yes. Why would she not say yes? You think I'm going to take her all the way up to the top of the Trade Centre,
that's right,
buy champagne and caviar, with an expectation that she might say no? And he was quite flabbergasted.
Yeah. That you had
I was so certain.
You had the deal already sealed.
Yeah.
That's quite a haul downtown, is it, to the World Trade Centre?
Yeah, we had to take a cab down.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. But,
and she did say yes, of course.
Of course she said yes, I know, because then you had a long, fulfilling marriage, and Emma was
as you've often described it.
I came I came over and...
14 years.
For the birth of your daughter and all that kind of stuff. Pretty good. No, so I think Usain Bolt is impractical. Listen, guess who else celebrated a birthday?
Do you think he's also sort of revealing, because he is known to be a bit of a party animal, old Usain Bolt, isn't he?
Are you saying he's a player?
I think he is. I mean, part of that advert that we're talking about shows him like in a club and lots of people dancing around him and all of that thing. So maybe his view on it all is tainted somewhat by his own experience.
I bet you a load of women go up to him all the time and say, Usain, you want to show me how fast you are?
Well, do you remember how he crashed his BMW? And when the police arrived, there were about 3 women in the back of the car.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. That's amazing. He says here... Usain said, you get famous, there's so much pressure of girls wanting you. For you to get married at 21, you've not lived one bit, man.
Yeah. Well, I think that's true of anything. I don't think you want to get married when you're 21 anyway. That's a stupid idea.
Well, some people do because they want to. I mean, for instance...
but also it used to be a thing that you didn't have children before you were married. I mean, Gareth Bale and his wife-to-be have got 2 kids already.
That's right, yeah.
And whereas in the old days, it was quite normal to be married by the time you were 22, 23.
Yeah, it was.
In order to start a family.
Yeah, it was. I mean, in post-war, the only thing a young lady wanted to do was find herself a husband quick. Yeah. And the quicker the better, often in their teens.
It's a bit like yourself, no doubt, fighting women off, right, in your early days as a
you do, don't
pub reporter.
No. As a successful newspaper executive, of course, what they always say that power is the greatest...
The ultimate aphrodisiac.
Yeah. And so when I was,
you didn't have that much power.
When I was new supremo, you know what I mean, strutting around there, issuing orders to everybody and controlling budgets worth tens of millions of pounds and all that, obviously some of these young secondary girls and some of these young reporters were, in awe of me.
Really?
I mean, that's what happened.
Uh-huh.
But listen, I'll tell you who else's birthday was over the weekend.
Who?
In fact, it's today.
Right.
John Glenn.
John Glenn.
John Glenn.
Well, the astronaut.
Yeah, I didn't even know he was still alive.
Well, sometimes you
Do you know
don't.
how old he is?
I don't know, 90?
95.
That's not a bad
John
guess.
Glenn, 90... Yeah, no, not bad guess at all. 95 years of age.
He was the guy they had they based the film on, wasn't he?
What, The Right Stuff?
The Right Stuff, yeah.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, they did. But John Glenn, I mean, what an amazing man. His titles are this.
How have you gone from Usain Bolt to John Glenn?
Well, because Gareth Bale proposed on his birthday.
Right, this will be good.
So this is birthday
I
talk.
see. Oh, so it's because they were born relatively close to each other.
Well, yeah, 27 and 95, yeah. That's only like 67 years difference.
Luckily, we haven't got any time to explore this any further.
68 years difference.
Yeah,
John Glenn, right. First American to orbit the Earth.
Yeah.
So first man from the free world to go up in space and go around the Earth.
Yeah.
That's that's something. Oldest person to fly into space.
What are you saying before Yuri Gagarin?
Well, I said from the free world.
All right.
From the free world. Yuri Gagarin went up from the communist world.
He still went up first.
He went up from the closed world, the dark world. And the oldest person ever to fly in space in 1998. That's 18 years ago.
Yeah.
So even then, he was 95 minus 18 is 75 plus 2 is 77. He was 77, right? And he was...
see the time.
He was a US Senator.
Yeah, I know he was.
For 25 years.
Exactly. What's he doing now for his birthday?
Oh, God, no.
Not much.
Well, perhaps somebody will put him in a human cannonball just to remind him what it was like to fly.
This is the Two Mics in for Colin Murray on TalkSport with Wix. The new Wix catalogue is out now with hundreds of new products and the brands you love. It's got everything you need to do your project right. Coming up in a little while, we'll be telling you who has won the £100 worth of Wix vouchers as well for Caller of the Day. We'll be doing that every day, of course, this week. Now, Mr. Parry, we haven't really talked about Henrik Stenson and we haven't really talked about the golf from yesterday.
We haven't,
apart
actually.
from my mention at the top of the show that, of course, you jinxed Phil Mickelson by saying to everybody on the warm-up yesterday that you were pretty sure he was going to win.
You say that, and as I say, I put my head above the parapet. I'm always frank and full on to the audience. You hedge your bets until the last moment.
Incorrect.
And then claim, I got it right, it right.
That's not true.
Yeah.
Absolutely not true. But one of the stars of the weekend,
yes,
you have to say this, and I mean, we've got winners and losers coming up, so I don't know what the golf is going to figure in that, obviously. But Andrew Johnson is a man who from, I think, Friday and Saturday and Sunday, you were giving some terrible clog to on the basis of his looks, right? This is one of the great heroes of the Open and of the country.
I need to apologise. I mean, we shouldn't be lookist on TalkSport. We're not lookist, but he's just an odd-looking guy. But he's called The Beef. And have you seen on one of his clubs, he's actually got tattooed on it the recipe for all sorts of meat dishes. You know,
well, no, he's just got the names of different cuts
ribeye steak
meat.
and all that kind of stuff.
Cuts of steak,
but didn't I say that he looked like a reject from the film
Deliverance? Which I thought I had to make you retract. Well, I mean, was very unkind.
Just to fill in our millions of listeners, Deliverance is a film made about the Deep South, when Burt Reynolds and some of his mates got lost in the swamplands of Florida, didn't they, or Louisiana?
I think it's somewhere Louisiana,
like and got tracked by some of the what do they call them, swamp men.
Well, they weren't swamp men, they were sort of hillbillies.
Hillbillies,
basically.
That's right, yeah.
Anyway, we're not talking about Deliverance because we're going to talk about Andrew Johnson and the golf, and he was on Breakfast, of course, with Danny Kelly and Ray Parlour.
He was.
And he talked about his popularity amongst the fans.
To have people sort of shout beef out every hole, and no, I absolutely love it. It's just, it's amazing. And I'll always acknowledge it and take my time with the fans because like I always remember that, and that's what I love doing, you know. So I'm just a normal guy, and just happens to play golf, you know. And I think they see it that way, and I'm no different to anyone else, you know. I'm just a normal guy, and I like to have fun out there. And yeah, as I said, if people are going to shout beef out and sort of shout my name out, I'm going to acknowledge it and have some fun with it, you know.
Andrew Johnson there. Fantastic reception that he got walking down the 18th.
He did.
And because until Rory McIlroy had his great round on the Sunday, he was the sort of the leading British golfer. Yeah, and he nearly gave the game up 3 years ago.
He did, yeah. And I think he's 104th in the world, which is not...
I think he's now moved up, though.
I think he has a bit.
He's moved into the top 100.
But do you know what happened? Do you know what happened? He is a very typical example of what happens when fame takes a grip.
Yeah.
For the first 3 days, when he was relatively... Well, first 2 days anyway, when he's relatively obscure, but inching himself up the old leaderboard because the big four, including Rory McIlroy, was sort of not conquering it as they should have done.
Yeah.
He was really obscure. Then when we started focusing on him, then when we started finding out his name was the Beef, then when we found out that he eats a lot of meat.
I think it's just beef actually, rather than the beef.
Yeah, beef. You're absolutely right, beef. Then the spotlight was shining on him, and he completely lost all his form on the last day, didn't he?
Well, not really. No, I mean, he had a pretty good final round. The trouble was, because the game was so stretched with the two guys at the top, 6 or 7 points, 6 or 7 strokes ahead, even before the last day got underway. And 20, you have to say, 20 under is a ridiculously sort of low score, is it not, around what is meant to be a very long and difficult course
I totally
for
agree.
the Open. Do you not think they're going to have to do something about that?
How did that happen then?
Well,
what's the explanation for it?
One of the explanations is that when Mickelson and Henrik Stenson were playing, they often got the best end of the day, particularly over the weekend. I mean, Rory McIlroy had a much more difficult part of the day because of the weather.
Yeah, but that's the luck of the draw, isn't it?
Well, it is the luck of the draw, and you can't really complain. I mean, Rory McIlroy's big problem was he couldn't putt. But he was playing pretty well.
Yeah.
But the interesting thing about Johnson is that he has not yet got himself into even wildcard contention for the Ryder Cup, and apparently he's going to have to do a little bit better before he gets thought to be included. But surely he's got to be in the Ryder Cup.
Well, you're right. He was 104 before the tournament started, so people are trying to find out what his ranking is now. Yeah. The other thing is, he looks like a huge chap, doesn't he? Looks like a big chap.
Well, he is big.
Well, yeah.
There's any doubt about that.
Yeah, but he's the same height as me, 5'9".
5'9"?
Yeah.
I thought you were 5'8 3/4.
Well, that's rounded off to 5'9".
Rounded off. Rounded up.
Sorry?
Rounded up, you mean?
Well, no, you rounded off to the nearest inch.
No, you rounded up.
If you're 5'8 3/4, I can tell you this as a mathematician.
Yeah.
You round it to the nearest inch, it's 5'9".
Yeah, but that's rounded up.
It's rounded.
It's just rounded to the nearest.
It's rounded to the nearest inch.
Yeah, okay.
As simple as that.
All right.
Whereas Henrik Stenson, of course, who was a lot leaner, is 6'2".
Yes.
And looked like it. Henrik Stenson, by the way, has won prize money 1.14 million this year.
Yeah.
No, I'm sorry. The biggest prize he's ever earned before 2 million yesterday was 1.14 million.
Right.
The biggest prize that Andrew
Johnson... That's not bad, is it?
No, it's not bad at all. The biggest prize that Andrew Johnson's earned, and by the way, he's had 4 professional wins.
Yeah, well, he won the Spanish Open, I think.
He won the Spanish Open. That got him 278k.
Yeah. He got 170,000, I think, for this.
He got 170 for this, did he? Okay. Well, it's not bad, though, is it?
It's not
bad
weekends,
for 4 days' work.
That's even more money than we made over the weekend.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Now, a couple of people have pointed out that Mr. T was the star of Rocky 3. And that was the guy that Sylvester Stallone ended up fighting.
No, I remember now, when he was, the heavyweight champion of the world, at the height of his fame and all that, he actually went to some school to give the lecture about being a good person, and Mr. T turned up and said he was going to interfere with his wife. Do you remember?
With her?
Yes.
And what do you mean?
Well, he said, send your wife over to me, Rocky. I'll show what a real man's like.
Oh, yeah,
that sounds more like Rocky than Mr.
It does, yeah. But that's a good kind of conglomeration of the two. How about this from Dealey, who says, rate expensive outdoor televisions. To save money, watch your telly from the garden through a window and listen to Talk Sport. Easy peasy.
No, that's what I do at the moment.
That's all right, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
And then TMF says this, sounds like a silent disco is right up Porky Street. Bring your own headphones in a faux leather bag.
They fell to bits a few minutes ago, but I put them back together again.
Yeah, absolutely right.
Yeah.
Now, we're going to have to tell people exactly who's won the £100 of Wix vouchers. We'll do that very shortly.
See this Gary Player there, look.
There he is,
on one of the monitors in our studio.
Yeah.
I've told you about him carrying this bit of bacon around with him all over the place, haven't I?
We must get back to that in a little while. But coming up next is Winners and Losers. We are the two Mikes, and this is Winners and Losers, a competition that's been running for several months and years, actually, but the current incarnation of it started a little bit earlier on this season, and of course, or last season, I should say. It was meant to end last week, actually, when we were doing a show on Talk Radio, but we tied 50-50 in the vote, and if you haven't voted before, what we do is we will pin the voting procedure up on the top of our two Mikes Twitter page.
Indeed.
And that's where you can vote, and we'll say you can vote until, I guess, 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, right?
10 o'clock tomorrow morning is fine. Yes, before the show starts, yes.
If it does end up being a draw, I guess we'll just have to carry on.
We will just have to carry on.
We'll just have to see. Right now, we also, because of the fact that we did Heroes and Villains yesterday, we made a deal that you couldn't nominate the same exact thing. But you can nominate if you're smart.
Yes.
And you say you are smarter than the average bear. You can nominate certainly different aspects of some event or such, right? Now, do you want to go first with your losers or first with your winners?
I'll go first with the winners.
Okay.
So you're going to go first with the losers?
Okay. Well, my first loser has got to be England, basically, in the cricket yesterday.
Right.
An absolutely appalling performance.
Okay.
I mean, poor old Alistair Cook came out and said,
yes.
We were no good, we were not consistent. He's the captain, and he was put out pretty early on, as I remember it yesterday.
I totally agree.
So, I mean, it's another appalling performance. They've lost the second test to Pakistan.
Yeah.
And it's just, the next test, I think, starts on Friday.
Yeah.
And once again, we have this problem with England cricket where, just when you thought they were getting good again, they suddenly just do El Collapso.
Indeed.
So I'm not sure what they're going to do to make things better.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's very, very disappointing, really. Yeah. My second loser of the weekend, I have to say, and it's a sad one, it's Demba Ba. Because he broke his leg in a game over in China in a way which just looked so horrendous. I don't know if you've seen the actual video of it,
I totally agree.
or the picture of it. And it's always terrible when you see that.
Yeah.
Lots of people saying it could be a career-ending injury.
Yes.
Let's hope that it's not and that he recovers from it. But, I mean, whatever happens, he's going to take a long time to recover from that. It looks really just awful. And, in fact, the more I think about it, the less I want to talk about it.
Well, I think that's a valid nomination.
I have to say that's a valid nomination. And my final loser of the weekend is Alex Scott.
Right.
Now, you may not know who Alex Scott is. I wouldn't blame you for not knowing. But Alex Scott is the ladies' captain for Arsenal Football Club.
Right.
And she managed to score an own goal yesterday.
Right.
In their game against the Chelsea ladies.
Yeah, it's not good.
From 40 yards.
40 yards.
40
Have
yards
you seen
out. Yeah. She basically
it
was a pass back to the goalkeeper.
Yeah,
but it was a little bit of a, shall we say, over exuberant. Yeah, and the goalkeeper misjudged it.
Did it go over her head?
It's one of the great own goals, actually. Yeah,
really?
Basically just kind of bounced around her.
Right.
She just didn't see it, performing the way that she expected it to.
That's,
but I mean, good news was
good.
that at least the Arsenal ladies team did actually win the game.
Right. Okay.
In the end.
So not a complete loser, really.
Well, she didn't lose the game, but you have to say it's one of those things that will follow her for the rest of her career. I think
might have tarnished her reputation.
A 40-yard own goal.
Yes.
I mean, some people call that a winner, but I'm going to call it a loser.
Okay.
Those are my three.
Okay, not bad. I think I can better them.
Go on.
Right, I would say that my three losers are, first of all, Wigan.
Yes.
They managed to lose 2-0 to Manchester United and Liverpool in the same weekend, right? Because of pre-season friendlies, they played one of the teams on Saturday, the other one on Sunday.
Yeah.
Lost both of them 2-0, okay?
Uh-huh.
My second loser is Jordan Spieth. He came here with a huge reputation.
I mean, he hasn't recovered from that collapse of the Masters, has he?
Hasn't recovered the collapse of the Masters. He finished joint 30th, right, on +2 and bottom of what we'd call the group of four, the top four, of which, by the way, I'm delighted to say Rory McIlroy finished the top of, right? And my third loser, and this is getting away from sport, has to be Mick Jagger, who suddenly found at 72 he's to be a father again.
I don't see how you can be a loser.
Well, I'll tell you why, because I read an in-depth piece over the weekend from a very experienced showbiz reporter who said this was never planned, and it's hit him like a bolt out of the blue.
Really?
Because the lady who's having his baby...
Well, you'll be more careful.
The lady who's having his baby, they have a casual relationship.
Really?
They might not see each other for 6 or 8 weeks, and then she might fly over to see him for a week or something like that. That sort of arrangement. Sounds like very dilettante sort of arrangement between man and woman.
That's a Mick Jagger thing.
Well, that's a Mick Jagger thing, and he's not at all happy, apparently.
Really?
According to reports I've read.
Yes.
I've not spoken to him myself, obviously.
Okay.
But according to reports I've read, that he's going to be a father again at 72.
I suppose you could say it's going to cost him a few bob.
Well, I don't think he cares about that. He's got so much money, it doesn't matter. But I'm not saying he's been irresponsible. I'm just saying that seems to have caught him. It catches a lot of men during a lifetime.
All right.
Okay?
So your three are...
my three are...
Mick Jagger.
Wigan.
Yeah.
Jordan Spieth,
and Jordan
Mick Jagger.
Okay, well, those are not bad.
Yeah.
My three, of course, were England, Alex Scott, and Demba Ba. Let's have the winners.
Indeed.
Everyone's a winner, baby. That's no lie. That's no lie. You never fail to satisfy.
Right, you wanted to go first with your winners, so
I'll go first
away
with
you go.
And I think this one will actually capture my title this week.
Okay.
I think it will, because it's a lot of research gone into this, right?
Okay, all right.
Gareth Lord.
Gareth Lord, okay.
Yeah. You know who he is?
No.
He is caddy to Henrik Stenson.
Okay.
He is British.
Yeah.
He got as far as playing for Warwickshire and England boys as a golfer.
Yeah.
and then became a caddy instead. He is now a multi-millionaire overnight because of the deal he has with Henrik Stenson.
Well, wouldn't he already be a multi-millionaire?
Well, he was a wealthy man, and he drove a Porsche. And
so he hasn't come from nowhere.
Well, yeah, but I mean, hang on. He's stuck with Henrik Stenson for 20 years while he's been trying to win a major.
Right.
He had offers to go and caddy for other players, but he stuck with Henrik Stenson, and finally now his numbers come up, and he's my first winner.
Right.
My second winner is N'Golo Kante for the bravery he's shown in leaving Leicester and going to Chelsea in the face of what will clearly be, accusations of treachery and skullduggery.
There haven't been too many of those, though, have there?
No, they haven't. But I think still for him to say, look, it was a great adventure. He's been absolutely realistic. He's going to have a better career in the long term with Chelsea.
Right.
And my third one, you put England's cricket team down as losers.
Yes.
I will put down Yunus Khan and Pakistan cricket team as winners.
Okay.
Not only for the manner in which they won by 75 runs, but for the great humour they showed after the game, doing all these press-ups after the game because they had actually trained at an army camp.
A boot camp,
A boot camp before they came to the game, and they were just trying to make out to the England boys, hang on, if you get a bit of training, then you might be as up to us, you know?
Yes, absolutely right. And quite upset the England players who were having to watch it all
exactly
from on high.
That's right.
It's a bit like watching your sort of, biggest enemy coming to your home turf.
Indeed.
And humiliating you.
Indeed.
Yeah, not bad at all.
Yeah.
OK, well, my three winners are as follows. My first one is Hal Robson-Kanu, who looks like he's going to be getting a game in the Premier League.
Yeah.
This is a guy who was the star in a way for Wales in their Euro campaign.
Yes.
Scored that fantastic goal, which a lot of people said was the goal of the tournament.
Yes.
This Cruyff turn. And
sorry, who's he got a gig with?
Well, it looks like he's going to go to Hull, apparently.
Right, okay.
But, I mean, the great thing was about him, the great story was, of course, that when he was at the Euros, he was out of contract.
That's right,
he'd been playing for Reading,
yeah.
and he wasn't playing for a club. So,
That's right.
I mean, it was bound to happen, and I'm very happy for him. So he's my first winner. My second winner of the weekend has got to be Nintendo. We tried to explain Pokemon Go to some of our listeners last week. You had a go at it as well, and it's obviously taken over. Even Jeremy Corbyn apparently was playing it yesterday.
Yes.
But it's made the Nintendo company's shares rise 70%.
On what?
In 1 week.
Yeah?
70%.
Yeah.
Which is incredible, just on the sales of the app, where everybody's playing this Pokemon Go.
Right.
I mean, it's an incredible story, really.
It is.
The biggest, probably the biggest success story in any kind of in any field that anybody's seen for a very long time.
It certainly is impressive.
It is, and my final winner is a guy by the name of Kyle Edmund.
Yeah.
Okay, now he was the hero of the Davis Cup game yesterday, basically because he's only 21 years of age. Andy Murray was cheering on from the sidelines, and he's now being tipped by the captain Leon Smith to be a top 10 player by the time he's 22, 23 or 24.
How old is he now?
He's 21.
Oh,
so you're talking the next sort of day or next year or two. So I mean, he's also actually played Novak Djokovic in the second round of the Miami Masters in March, and played very well and impressed Novak Djokovic. So I think he's a man for the future.
Okay,
and we're always wondering who's going to inherit Andy Murray's crown.
I'd say
it could well be Kyle Edmund.
I'd say there's a bit of a question mark over that because, of course, he's yet to prove himself. But
he
has
proved
potential.
He proved himself yesterday.
Right.
Because he was the one that won the Davis Cup tie against Serbia. So
fair enough.
I think those are my three. I think are Kyle Edmund, Nintendo, and Hal Robson-Kanu.
Talk Sport on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM.
Freedom for sport.
Can we kick it? Yes, we can. Talk Sport.
Lots and lots of tweets coming in and some votes already pouring in on the winners and losers.
Excellent.
Richard says, Porky wins for me just because I don't like Jordan Spieth. It's always good to know that people are taking it in the spirits of which it is
Absolutely.
intended. Simon says, Porky's the biggest loser for always adding 3 inches to his height.
Excuse me.
Which is a bit harsh.
Yeah, it is very harsh
here's
indeed.
one from Trevor. A stroll for MG in winners and losers. Porky's choice is
What do you
very
mean a stroll? No, they were not. They were not poor at all.
And Jimmy says, surely Mohammed Amir is the winner of the week. Redemption at the very ground he He was disgraced 6 years ago.
Yeah, well, but that borders then into people who've been culpable of things in the past.
True. Frankie says this, I'm appalled that MG can put Denver Bar as a loser. He broke his leg in 2 places and you put him as a loser.
I know.
Well, he's hardly a winner, is he?
Well, yeah, but I mean, it's very unfortunate for the boy, isn't it?
Well, of course it is.
Yeah,
but this is not a competition about good or bad taste.
Losers are generally speaking people who fail to achieve, and he didn't really fail to achieve.
Well, I don't think so. I don't think you can dictate it that way. Kevin says shocking choices from Porky MG to claim.
What do you mean shocking choice?
Yeah.
My choices were great.
Well, he sounds
Don't you think the caddy was a great choice?
Well, I thought the caddy actually wasn't bad, but I don't like to be too magnanimous because then you'll try and sort of mobilise your forces to get loads and loads more. I'll tell you what the numbers are going like very shortly. But I've got something to say to you about something you came out with yesterday.
Oh yes,
you were talking about how a lot of anglers were very upset up at the River Tweed.
It's a disaster.
Because apparently
a fish farm had breached its
a fish farm somehow had opened a door, an underwater door, and all these trout had flooded into the river, and so the anglers were unhappy because basically they didn't have to use any skill to catch any fish.
Yeah,
I would have thought
dozens of them.
Yeah, I thought you'd be happy to just catch loads of them and go home early.
Apparently, I'm not a fisherman myself, but anglers, the battle to catch the fish is what the sport's all about. Not having like 300 fish suddenly hurtling down in the water and you catch one after the other.
Yeah.
Anyway,
here's one from
why
John.
do you bring it up again?
Stenson's caddy hasn't been with him for 20 years. Porky is a plank.
No.
I don't know if that's true. Anyway,
yeah.
You said it was at the River Tweed, right, in
Scotland.
I
said it was somewhere like the River Tweed.
Yeah.
It might have been a tributary of the River Tweed.
Yeah, well, it turns out the river in question is actually in the Hampshire Avon area.
Oh, yes?
Yeah. It's nowhere near Scotland. It's nowhere near the River Tweed. In fact, it's a completely different country.
Oh, yeah, but I think you've got to understand that almost every river in this country is in some way linked to each other. They're all,
you think all the rivers are linked?
Well, they mostly are, aren't they?
So the Tweed is linked in some way to the Avon?
Well, I'm not saying it's linked directly to the Avon.
When you say directly?
Yeah. Well, what I'm saying is that most rivers have tributaries. Most tributaries have tributaries, which lead to...
They don't all lead to one another.
Well...
Otherwise, we would have a sort of a vein-like structure of rivers completely covering the British Isles.
Most rivers in this country come from 3 sources. In the north, like Scotland, the Dee. In the Midlands, the Severn. And in the south, the Thames. I think you'll find that's true.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, they're the 3 sort of big rivers, you know. And they, in turn...
What about the Clyde?
Well, the Clyde's
quite a big river.
Yeah, but that's more of an estuary, if you see what I mean.
You can't be an estuary without a river.
Yeah, you can.
Well, what's an estuary?
No, you can. But you can be an impressive
what is an estuary? No, an estuary is a river where it meets the sea.
No, an estuary is the entrance to a river.
Well, yeah, but you can't have an estuary if there is no river.
No, well, yeah, but the river doesn't go that far, does it?
Well, of course it does. That's where the estuary is.
No, what I meant was, once you've gone through the estuary into the river, then the river kind of stops fairly shortly after that.
Well, you think so?
If you see what I mean. Look,
well, if you're coming up the Thames estuary...
I have to say, the Mersey is a big river as well.
The Mersey's quite big, you forgot that. What about the Tyne?
The Tyne's a very big river. Tyne's a big river.
And the Tweed, which you mentioned first.
And the Weir, actually, is quite a big river. Yeah.
And they're all connected.
Yeah.
I'd love to see one of your maps of
the Tees. The Tees is quite a big river.
The connections of the rivers,
What's that one in Hull as well? The Humber.
The Humber.
That's a big river.
Quite big.
Yeah, that's a big river,
Yeah, that's another estuary.
Okay, all right. Well, I might have got the location wrong, but the principle's right.
The principle is right, yeah. So anglers are not very happy. But let's talk about something else, actually, that I wanted to ask you about.
Tell me about these people who don't want to finish second.
Well, apparently, the people, because you've got the Olympics coming up soon, right? And Team GB will be going out there in force, right?
Of course,
And but there was a study done of people who won medals at the 2012 Olympics in London.
Yes.
And basically, they discovered that if you didn't win a gold medal, you'd actually be less dissatisfied winning a bronze than winning a silver. So basically, you'd rather come third than come second.
Sorry, what's that based on?
Which I find that really weird. It's based on this study that's been done of all these athletes, right? I mean, it's a London School of Economics study, so it's a very reputable one.
Yeah.
And they basically found out that Victoria Pendleton took silver in the women's sprint at London Games after losing to Anna Mears. Okay?
Right.
And Ed Clancy, another Team GB member, actually got a bronze in the men's situation.
Yeah.
And they basically found out that the guy who got the bronze, Mark Hunter, Ed Clancy, was actually, more happy about getting a bronze than Victoria Pendleton was about getting a silver.
Well, why is that? Have they given you a reason for this sort of psychological sort of fraction?
Well, I mean, it's basically it's done on a when they do these happiness indexes.
Yes.
for people.
Yes.
And they try. I mean, it's one of these very complicated kind of social mores that they're working out on. Silver medal winners scored 5.92 on the happiness scale.
Yeah.
But bronze medalists scored 6.06. I think it might be. Here's my theory.
Go on.
I think it might be because whoever wins a bronze is maybe not expecting to win a medal at all.
Yeah.
Generally speaking.
Yeah.
Because they know there's a couple of people better than them in the world. But the people winning silver would have expected to win. It's a bit. I remember when we said over the weekend that Phil Mickelson was unhappy at scoring 63.
Yes.
Because he wanted a 62. He said he was heartbroken.
Yes.
Because he didn't make the record. So his happiness index would be lower, probably, than Andrew Johnson, who was much happier just getting into the top 10 of the Open, right?
Well, Mickelson spent the last day thinking he was going to win it, so he'll have a very unhappy... but I think your theory's right.
Yeah.
I think what you're saying here is if the gold and the silver was settled by 1/10 of a second, but 2 seconds behind them were bronze, then you're quite right. The bronze person feels they've won a gold because they've actually got a medal.
Well, they're in the medals.
They've got a medal.
Yeah.
Whereas the silver person has a disappointment factor for not having gone 1/10 of a second faster to have nabbed the gold.
Yeah.
That's a good theory.
I mean, because if you think about Phil Mickelson, right, coming second at the Open, right, and as you said, what if he'd managed to get that 62 instead of that 63?
Would have been a record.
He'll be thinking much more hard about what his problem was.
Yes.
About not, getting 2 or 3 strokes better.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
No, I totally agree.
Rather than somebody who came in way down the list.
Yeah, I totally agree. It's
quite bizarre.
It's a very very bizarre theory.
Yeah.
Listen, I told you I was going to talk to you about, by the way, about all the the social issues that we talk about. How do you get this? This is one of my academic journals, right? That all these celebrities who've made millions, and Richard Branson is cited as one, without going to university.
Yeah.
Is now starting a trend for people to say, I don't want to go to university because I've got a better chance of succeeding in life.
Yes.
And that is also, apparently, a position that people look at with Lord Sugar, with Bill Gates, with Mark Zuckerberg, and with Steve Jobs. Yeah. They all dropped out of university and became massively successful.
But the trouble is, if you start believing that you can
be one in a million, isn't it?
Like those people, and they're very exceptionally talented people, aren't they?
Yeah.
I mean, lots of people drop out of university, lots of people don't go to university and don't actually have any success at all. In any way, shape, or form.
No, I totally agree. Do you know what that's like? It's like these, instant. What do they call it now? People who just want instant fame,
instant gratification,
fame, and all that kind of stuff. Now it's interesting because this report that I got this from is commissioned by King's College London. Okay. And I passed King's College London when I walked down from London Bridge to.
Well, I mean, you pass
to
it.
Join you.
Well, don't you pass it on the way to Waterloo? It's just down the road there.
Yeah. Well, there's another.
There's loads of bits of it. There's a bit of it over by the Strand.
Guy's Hospital.
Yeah.
Guy's Hospital is King's College London.
Yeah.
And do you know what? Some guy this morning nearly ran over my feet with his pavement cleaning machine.
Did he?
Yeah.
Well, why did he get out of the way?
Well, I did. This is the very point. Let me tell you what happened. You see, I was trying to be very helpful.
Right.
So I'm walking through the square of Guy's Hospital, and the nurse's home is there, and the doctor's home is there, and that kind of stuff.
You know where the nurse's home is, obviously.
Well, and
I time, by the way.
I decided to take a sit down in the early morning.
A rest.
7 o'clock. I thought, just observe the early morning air. This guy comes along with his pavement cleaning machine, which has got 2 brushes on the outside and a suction thing in the middle.
Yeah.
So as he's coming down my way, I say, OK, mate. And I got up and I moved and sat on a seat opposite. What did he do? He goes down to the bottom, turns round in a U-bend turn, comes back up the other side.
Well, why didn't you move back again?
Well, why should I? I'd already moved for him once.
No, so you weren't actually doing it to help him?
I was trying to help him. And in fact, I then did get up and move back to my original seat.
Well, there you go.
Guess what he did?
He came back again?
Yes, he did a U-turn at the top and then came back down after me again.
I
started getting fed up with him then, I refused to move.
Maybe he knows who you are. You should have just offered to have him shine those Velcro shoes you've got.
I haven't got any Velcro shoes.
Oh, OK. Don't forget to follow the Two Mics at the Two Mics on Twitter and on YouTube. Just look for Two Mics TV.